The main rule is, and this is a very difficult practice. Devotion is a practice. It's a state of mind, but it's a state of mind you have to practice. To make that state of mind permanent, in other words, to get your love flowing permanently to yourself, okay, you need to practice. If your love's not flowing to yourself all the time presently, your love is not going to go to yourself unless you train it to go to yourself, because basically our love goes to objects, to situations, to people, to things. It doesn't go here, it goes outside. So the whole idea in Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of love, is to change the direction of the mind so that it looks in and not out. It's very interesting that when you attain inner vision, then you get outer vision. Then the outer world is included in the inner vision. But if you're looking at the outer world, you miss the inner world, the world of love, the world of bhakti. So the basic discipline of Bhakti Yoga, the first stage is listening to the philosophy of Bhakti. You have to know where you're going, what the goal is, what the destination is, and you have to know how to get there. And so the Vedanta makes it clear what the goal is. And what is the goal? Goal is non-dual love. That's where you're going. That's the destination. Okay? If you're doing a practice, if you're doing some work, spiritual work or otherwise, you're always moving toward a goal, aren't you? You're doing a work to gain a result. The result is your goal, whatever it is. Isn't that right? Isn't every action that you do to obtain some result? You have to think about this. Yeah. Nobody does actions for no reason, do they? Do you do actions for no reason at all? No. I know you say, oh, I don't care about anything, I just do. I just do. No, you don't just do, honestly. You do for a result. Because the very fact that you act means that you want something. Unless, of course, you know that your nature is love. If you know that your nature is love, then you act, but you act happily. You don't act for happiness, you act happily. Because your goal has been, you've discovered that I am a goal. I am what I want. I am what I'm seeking. You've discovered that. So then you act, but you don't act for a result, you act happily. But unless you're completely satisfied with yourself, in other words, unless you love yourself unconditionally, and as an individual, and you love the world unconditionally as it is, then you're pursuing love as an object, as a goal. Non-dual love, in this case. we don't need to pursue relationship love. Why? Why don't we need to pursue relationship love? Because relationship love is conditional love, isn't it? It's dualistic love. It's a transactional love. And when you're in a transaction with, well, let's just keep it on the level of people now, okay? We'll just talk about people. But an object means anything. But when we're talking about objects, what we mean now in this seminar is people. Although people is only one kind of object that you can love, our basic emotional problems are all associated with our relationships with people, aren't they? Isn't that where your emotional problems come from? Yeah, conflicts with people. Different understandings or different feelings about people. And so we're going to explore this bhakti yoga, Bhakti yoga means to connect, or to communicate, to touch, to join. That's the meaning of yoga. And I'm kind of hesitating to talk about this. I've got to be very careful what I say, because there are probably quite a few people here. I imagine most everybody here is in the yoga world. Is that right? Huh? And there are, and we're not for the yoga world or against the yoga world. Understand? At all. We're not for it or against it. We are for it in some ways, we're against it in others, and we're against it in some ways, and we're for it in others. It's all a matter of understanding what yoga can do for you and what, with reference to your goal of what? Non-dual unconditional love. Is there anybody here who doesn't want to feel love for themselves and others in the world all the time? I put all the time in there because we do want to feel love for others, but only part-time, right? Maybe we want to love ourselves full-time, but we don't necessarily want to love everybody else full-time, do we? Isn't that right? Come on, let's be honest. You have to be very honest here, okay? You can't pretend. You can't fool yourself. People love to fool themselves. They love to delude themselves. You're either your own best friend or your own worst enemy. And you're your own best friend when you're totally honest with yourself. So, and so we're going to put you in the hot seat. That means, we're going to ask some embarrassing, difficult questions. In a friendly way. There's no judgments here, okay? No, we're not going to judge you. Because if we're judging you unfairly, that's not non-dual love, is it? Well, we're just going to explore our emotional relationship to the world and to ourselves. Because that's all there is, isn't it? There's me, a conscious entity, conscious being, and an existent conscious being, and hopefully a loving conscious being. And then there's the world. Isn't it right? The world means objects. And my life is what? It's nothing but a transaction between what? me, the subject, and the world, whatever it is, in this case people, we'll just leave it at people, isn't it? Of course you interact with plants and animals and physical objects and situations, of course you do that. Maybe you don't love situations too, that's just another thing that is, if you find yourself in an uncomfortable hotel room, there's no people there, but it's kind of hard to love that uncomfortable. I was in one recently. They were fixing the hotel and the air conditioner wasn't working. So it was making this noise all the time. And I had a hard time loving the hotel. Understand? I managed quite all right because I got the hotel to change my room. But we're always confronted with this conflict, with this suffering, with this unhappiness, according to our circumstances in a situation, whether, no matter what kind of object is involved in my situation. So this Vedanta, and Vedanta is 100% for the practices of yoga. Okay, we encourage the practice of yoga. We recommend the practice of yoga. But the philosophy of yoga, it's called a darshana, the philosophy or the ideas of yoga are not suitable for attaining non-dual love, unfortunately. Vedanta, however, philosophically, makes it very clear what non-dual love is and how to gain it. Dualistic love is I love, let's say, is that Saraswati, I think, huh? Yeah. That's the goddess of arts and music, literature and arts. See, she's got a book in her hand too. That's the scripture, and this Veena here is music. It's the song of God. She's playing the song of God. It means she loves God. Okay, so now if I love Saraswati, what's my relation? Am I the same as Saraswati, or am I non-separate from Saraswati, or am I different from Saraswati? What's my relationship?
The same.
It's the same?
No, different.
It's different, isn't it? If I love Saraswati, and that's the word Saraswati means me, right? Why do I love a deity? Why do I love a god, a personal god? Say Saraswati. Sometimes it's Ganesha. Why do I love that person, that deity? What's the real motivation? Because did you ever meet Saraswati anywhere? Huh? It's not a person, is it? So what does it represent? We're talking worship of forms. That's Advaita. That's called dualistic devotion. There's nothing wrong with it. Even Vedanta's dualistic devotion. Don't worry about it. But what does this word, Saraswati, and this symbol, what does it represent?
Creativity.
Huh?
Devotion.
Well, devotion to what? Who's devoted to what?
Devoted to God.
Huh? She's devoted to God?
Yeah.
But she's only a picture.
She sings the song of the Lord.
She's only a symbol, isn't she?
It's not true.
Isn't she only a symbol? So if she's a symbol, she can't be worshiping anything. But when I say Saraswati, I'm making the point that nobody ever met Saraswati, did they? Or Ganesha. Did anybody meet Ganesh? Everybody loves to love Ganesh, right? Ganesh is, we don't have Ganesh here, do we? We got rishis. Huh? Isn't it? Aren't those the three? Those are rishis?
I don't know.
Yeah, those are rishis. See their books here? These are the holy books. Well, let's say you worship the rishis. What are you worshiping? Did you ever see a rishi? What does the word rishi stand for? It's a symbol for something. So is that, all words point to objects, don't they? If I say an easel, that word points to this. Then you know what an easel is. If you didn't know that this was an easel, you're ignorant of it, and I say easel and point, and then you know what it is. So when we say Saraswati, or Ganesh, or whatever, or even Vishnu Devananda. What does Vishnu Devananda mean? Did you ever meet Vishnu Devananda? That's not Vishnu Devananda sitting on the wall here. That's a picture of Vishnu Devananda, isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah, it's a picture. Well, what does it represent?
Me.
Does it represent you, or does it represent something else?
The self?
Huh?
It's my opinion.
Pardon?
My opinion.
Aspect of a whole.
An aspect of, okay, all right, it represents an aspect of a whole. What else?
Myself.
Huh?
Myself.
Yourself. And what is your relationship to yourself?
None.
No relationship. Okay, that's what non-dual bhakti is. That's correct. If you understand that that's a symbol of yourself, then what? Then you're only worshiping yourself when you worship that symbol, and that's called non-dual bhakti, isn't it? But if you think that Saraswati's a god or a goddess in some other dimension that you can't see, floating around with a veena, making music, then, okay, that's fair too. That's fine. Then who is it that's worshiping that Saraswati? And what's their relationship?
It's me.
What's your relationship to that Saraswati, that goddess Saraswati? Are you Saraswati? You can't say you are, because Saraswati's in another dimension in the heavens somewhere else playing music, divine music, celestial music. She's a celestial musician. So the question is, is what is my relationship to the objects that I love? Now, yoga means that the object that you love is something you're trying to gain. You want to gain that object. Yoga means prapti, it means to get, to gain, to connect, to grab, to communicate with. I want to touch that object. That's the meaning of yoga. How do you touch Saraswati? A form. How do you touch a symbol?
Only in my mind.
In your mind. Well, that's where you touch everything. You actually can't. There's no physical touching.
So simple.
Yeah, in your mind you touch them. But when you touch it, what does that thought that Saraswati thought, what does it invoke? Invoke means, what experience do you get when you touch that thought?
Love.
To make something clear
Love.
Yeah, maybe to make something clear.
for myself.
Or love. Did somebody say love?
Love.
Love. Okay, let's try an easier one. Okay, let's try. I can see you're having a problem with this. Let's try an easier one. Let's try a baby. Okay? Do you ever see the pictures of baby Krishna? Huh? Or baby Jesus? Why do they have baby Jesus? Or baby Krishna? Or baby Shiva? Why do people worship babies?
It's easy.
Innocence, easy.
Huh?
It's easier.
Purity.
Yeah.
It's easy, yeah, purity, and what, so that's right, so, and what? And beauty, purity, what? And love, isn't it? When you think of a baby, you feel love, don't you? You don't even have to have a baby present to feel the love, do you? You just have to think the baby thought, and what does the baby thought do? It puts you in contact with the love that you are, because the baby is a symbol or an embodiment of your own love. So really, when you're worshiping a symbol or a form, you're actually worshiping yourself, but you don't know it. And you think the baby's making you happy. You think the happiness is coming from the baby, because it's so cute and warm and oh, it's so soft and pure and innocent and it's so beautiful, isn't it? Aren't babies beautiful? I mean, not always, but
When they grow up.
because that symbol touches. In other words, it invokes. The word is invocation. It opens up a place in you that allows the love that you are to what? To bathe that symbol in love or beauty or truth, whatever it is. You can say beauty or light, clarity. Somebody say clarity. That's a good one. The rishis represent the clarity of knowledge. And what is the knowledge? But where are we going with this knowledge? The knowledge is, I am love. That, huh?
Yes, I'm also love.
Pardon?
I'm also love.
Not also, I am love. There's no also. Huh? If there's an also, then that's dualistic love, isn't it?
Both climates.
I am love, and love is all there is. You know that Beatles song? Love is all there is, love is all there is, love is all there is. Huh? That's what the yoga of love's, that's the statement that we're going to have to realize and to actualize. Because if love is all there is, that means I'm love, doesn't it? Because all there is means what? Me, consciousness, the subject, and all the objects in existence. That's all there is, isn't it? All there is me, the conscious, awareful subject, and what? And billions of objects. There's whole universes of objects. And so what is that statement? They're all love, they're only love. Now can you see what the benefit of this teaching is? What's the benefit of this teaching? We need to tell you that's our job, because you're not going to seek something unless you know what the benefit is, are you? You're not going to chase an object unless you know there's some benefit. You just don't wander around and hope that some object comes to you and says, I'm the benefit. No object is going to come and tell you it's the benefit. Why not? Because all the objects are unconscious, they're inert, they're not capable of, they're not conscious. I'm the only conscious entity. So the objects can't tell you anything, can they? So, all there is means what? The objects are love, the unconscious objects, the symbols, and the material objects are love, and I am love. So now that's going to be hard to understand, isn't it? This is why for Vedanta you need a guru. Because that's a difficult equation to understand. Now, it may not be so difficult to intellectually understand it, but what? To actualize that knowledge in your life so that what? You get the benefit. What's the benefit? No more conflict.
No bad emotion.
Huh? No more conflict. Why won't there be any conflict if you understand that everything is love? All there is love. Why will not there be conflict?
Because you love yourself.
Huh?
There's only love.
Because there's only love and there's nobody else to have a conflict with, is there? In other words, what you actually love when you love an object is you love love. And any object that invokes love, just what? Is a statement that it's all love, temporarily. But if your feeling of love comes in the presence of an object or intensifies in the presence of an object, then what happens? Yeah, it'll go. That's what happens to love. That's called conditional love. It's love that's subject to conditions, so it comes and goes. Now that's a big problem. Why is that a big problem? Because love is so attractive and so beautiful and so satisfying and so fulfilling that the moment it goes, what do I feel? Depressed, unhappy, angry. Huh? Immediately I'm a whole raft of emotions rise in my mind, yeah? And I'm unhappy, and then what do I have to do? I have to go back and try to get another object that makes me feel that way. Until I've extracted all the love from that object, which there isn't any object. In other words, it's just like taking a pill. You know, the first time you smoke a joint, you get really high. But the second joint, you get high, but not quite so high. And after the fifth joint, you don't get high at all, do you? Huh?
You can smoke
You
can smoke 2 joints then.
They smoke 2 joints, yeah, at the same time. Yeah, no. It doesn't work that way. All objects, what? They have, what's the word for that?
Diminishing return.
Huh?
Diminishing return.
Yeah, the law of diminishing utility or your diminishing returns. Huh? The more you use, the more you contact an object, the less power it has to produce an effect on you. You smoke a cigarette, it's all good. The first time I smoked a cigarette, it was like, oh my God. Woo! That was the most blissful, one of the most blissful experiences of my life. I was 14, I didn't know there was so much pleasure. By the time I was 25, the cigarettes were smoking me, I was a chain smoker, and I was getting no pleasure out of it at all. So what? So the joy was in the cigarette? The joy was in the object? This is why people who chant mantras, for instance, have to keep chanting different mantras. Because a mantra works for a while, they worship one God, and that works for a while, and then it starts to wear off, and then they try to find another God or another deity to worship that gives them a charge, and then after they worship that for a while, then they keep hopping around. That's why in India they got 10,000 gods, because you can never worship them all, so you can keep No, that's not really the reason. The reason they have so many gods in India is because why? Because everything is a symbol of God. And you have infinite numbers of types of human minds, so you can choose any object to worship that you like. Because they're all what? They're all God. Appearing as what? as objects. So what we're going to investigate here is our relationship to our feelings, our emotions, because our emotions are love, but love is not an emotion. Okay? Our emotions are love, but including hate and anger, those are love, but love is not an emotion. So we're going to look at this whole range of feelings and emotions and relate it to what? To our understanding. Because most of the texts, there are two what we call philosophies in India. There's the yoga, darshana means a philosophy. So there's the yoga philosophy, yoga darshana, and there's the Vedanta darshana. Okay? Vedanta philosophy. And most of the literature in the yoga philosophy, almost all of it, is what? Is dualistic. It says, and this is what duality means, okay? It says that me, the devotee, I'm a devotee. Everybody's a devotee. Everybody's devoted to something. So, every human being's a devotee. We're going to explore that as we go. You're always devoted to something. You guys are sitting here. Why are you devoted? What are you devoted to now? Knowing about love, isn't it? Yeah, you're devoted to the knowledge of love. You want to know what the hell this non-dual love is, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't choose this seminar. You take the Kundalini seminar, or the Hatha Yoga seminar, or some other seminar, who knows? Or the Knowledge Yoga seminar. Or the meditation seminar, because you love meditation. It's all, huh? So you want to know what love is. Now, dualistic devotion, okay, means what? That the subject, the devotee, and the object are different. Most religions, most religions, in fact, I don't know any that aren't, are dualistic, aren't they? The God that is worshipped is what? A remote God. Means it's not a God that's present. It's a God that's what? Well, let's just take Christianity, for example. It's a God in heaven. They got a word for heaven. Heaven is not here. Heaven is somewhere else. So this God that creates the world and so forth and so on is not sitting right here. So it's not available for direct appreciation. It's only available elsewhere. And that God that's wherever it is, and it could be all religions are this way. Their God is never present. Although there's certain, in Africa you have some animistic religions which say that God is all the living creatures that are present. This is the spirit in all those living creatures. And so that's a much more present and available experiential kind of concept of God than the idea, even though it's still dualistic. But so that God is somewhere else, and where am I? I'm here. Now, that's going to necessitate yoga, isn't it? Yoga means an action. Yoga's for actors, for doers. Yoga is about doing things, about gaining things, about doing actions to gain results. That's what yoga is. So how am I going to get to God if God is not here? How am I going to get there? It's not here. I know, I understand. In religions, they don't tell you this. Well, they tell you, but they've got a funny story about it. Huh? This is one of the stories. There are other stories, but they all boil down to the same story. And that is what? Well, you just have to suffer here, and then when you die, if you've been a good person here, you go to heaven, and there you meet God. Right? You've heard that story? Is that a attractive story to you? There's at least 1 billion people, maybe more, that believe that. It's enough for them. That's what we call duality. It's Advaita Bhakti. Bhakti means worship. That's good. It's fine. Nothing wrong with it. We're not condemning those people. There's no judgment about it. We're just trying to understand here. And now we're looking down on religion. In fact, we're going to teach here, we're going to teach what Vedic religion is. We're going to teach it. Well, tomorrow we'll explain it. Slowly we'll explain it, because we got some time now, don't we? We have 4 days? And it seems we've got an evening class too, do we?
Yeah.
Gee, you're working me hard. I thought we were going to just do 2 and then we're going out and party. So we're going to have to party in the evening too. We're going to have to party with God. So we got lots of time here to what? To explore this topic. Understand? And the way it works, the discipline that you have, this yoga, this job, your job, is to just hear what I say and not argue with me in your mind, okay? No, you can argue later. We'll have Q&A. You can argue. You can fight with me, so it's all right. Better have your arguments all pretty well laid out, because or at least have the karma yoga attitude and expect you might lose. Because so far I haven't been defeated in an argument on this topic. My wife defeats me on other topics, but on the topic of God, no. No, you can argue. You're going to argue because this is a provocative teaching. Huh? This is not, Isn't it provocative? We're making statements that don't make a lot of sense. God is everything, and you're always experiencing God, and God is here and now? Isn't that kind of a radical sort of statement to be making? That's not normally what I think, is it? That's not normal. That's quite a radical statement to make. So you're going to be irritated, maybe, and that's fine, but think about it, save your arguments, and then we can argue later. But the best thing to do is just listen carefully, because we will solve most of those questions that we provoke as we go along in the teaching. And if you didn't understand the answer, we create the question and then we give the answer. Now, but in between the question and the answer, there's a logical sequence of knowledge that needs to be understood by you if you're going to accept the conclusion. Understand? So your job is to listen without prejudice until you're really clear that you've heard the whole idea, and then you can argue with it, either in your own mind, or you can raise your hand and I can help you to understand. I can help you to see where you need to work in your understanding. Because the scripture is never wrong. You're never arguing with me, you're always arguing with the scripture, and the scripture is never wrong. That's why the scripture, it hasn't changed for like thousands of years. This is a Purana. Purana means the most ancient scripture. And the scripture hasn't changed for thousands of years. The reason it hasn't changed is because it's always right. But it's okay if you don't understand it. That's my job. My job is to help you to reconcile your belief about yourself and the world and God with the scriptures statement about what God and the self and the world is. So that you could come together with this and gain that non-dual vision, that non-dual love that is the fruit, the result of inquiry. So we're making an inquiry into love, into God. That's what we're doing. That's our brief here. Okay. Now, the yoga darshana, the yoga philosophy is absolutely essential for understanding this non-dual topic. Why? Because unless you're doing your yoga, you're going to have psychological issues that will prevent you, in other words, emotions and feelings and attachment to certain beliefs and opinions, that will prevent you from appreciating the fact that everything is love and that you're non-separate from everything that is. So, and you're not going to understand that unless you do yoga, so you need to practice yoga. Now, what yoga are we talking about? Talking yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. You know Patanjali yoga? Mm-hmm. How many of you know heard Patanjali yoga? Yeah. Patanjali yoga is chitta, vritti, nirodha. What does chitta, vritti, nirodha mean? It means getting rid of your hang-ups. Very simple. That's a big fancy Sanskrit term, but what it means, the chitta vrittis are what? Chitta is your mind, your emotions, and the vrittis are the thoughts, the feelings in your mind and emotions, and then nirodha means removing, erasing, neutralizing those feelings and emotions. That are what? That are disturbing your mind. There are certain feelings and emotions which what? Integrate and harmonize your mind, and those emotions you don't have to worry about because they don't disturb your mind. It's only a mind that's disturbed by what? Negative vrittis, negative energy or negative views that cannot understand clearly. Because when you're emotional, you misinterpret what's being said and you don't gain knowledge. And even if you gain knowledge, you'll lose it when your mind gets emotional because what? The emotion will distort the knowledge for you. And you'll believe something that's not true. Thinking that it's true, that's the worst thing. Thinking that a piece of ignorance is the truth is the worst thing you can do. That's terribly, terribly frustrating. So yoga is absolutely essential for what? For gaining freedom and non-dual love. Now, what does freedom and non-dual love have to do? What does freedom have to do with non-dual love? Are they two different things? Why do they have two? Huh? No, they're not two different things, but you might need an explanation for that, right? Freedom means what? Limitless. Limitless means what? Not modified by what happens, not changed by what happens, not limited by what happens. Is your love for yourself limited by what you think and feel and experience? Some people say no, that's good. That means what? That means their love is non-dual, is unconditional. It's unaffected by what? By what happens. That's what freedom means. It's free of what's happening. But if your love and if your love for yourself or the world is changed by what happens, then what? Then you're not free, are you? Then then that's a conditional. Then your love is conditioned by what happens. Think about this. Problem. Because what we're saying, what Vedanta says, what this scripture says, I'm just giving you kind of the introduction and the big picture. We're going to get into the details tomorrow. Is that this love that we're talking about is always present and is your nature and is what? Freedom from what? Dependence on an object for love. So what means what? I can love myself when I have no money in the bank. Can you love yourself when you have no money in the bank? Do you still love yourself as much when you're broke? Huh? Can you love yourself when you don't have a job? Huh? Or do you feel like a failure? Do you feel like a loser? Huh? Because think about it now. This is serious. How is it? Okay, if you don't have a relationship, let's do relationships. Okay, a passionate love relationship. Let's make it even more juicy. How do you feel if you see somebody in love, two people in love, and they're just all over each other? You know how that is? How do you feel and you don't have it when you see it? Indifferent? If you're indifferent, there may be reasons for your indifference. You may be an enlightened person, or you may be just a cynical, dull person. We don't know. Only you know that. Think about it. How do I feel? So we're going to ask, do I need an object to love? And if I do, what kind of object is useful for what? For cultivating love. Cultivating love means making love grow. Because spiritual growth is a growth in love. The spiritual path is a path of love. From the beginning to the end, it's a path of love. And it's a growth in love. It's a continual expansion of love to include everything. From just love of my own personal self to the love of everything. It's a growth. So we have to explore at every stage what it is and how it works and what you can do to enhance your love. Because there's nobody that doesn't have love. Why is that? Why is that?
It's your nature.
Yeah, it's your nature. It's your nature. It's that love is the nature of the self. There's only one self. There's only one self. Right now, there's a self here speaking through this body, and there's one self there listening through all those minds, bodies over there. It's the same self that's speaking here, it's listening there. There's only one self. And that self is nature, is love. Understand? Is that your understanding? Is that a daily understanding? So that when you function in the world, what? Everything goes smoothly and harmoniously and happily? Or do you, Because if it is your understanding, then everything goes smoothly and harmoniously and happily. Because everybody that contacts you feel that they're contacting themselves. And the love in you invokes the love in them, and they appreciate that, and they're happy to serve you. Just like you're happy to serve them. Love is service. And any kind of differences are resolved in that love. Understand? If it isn't, then what? Then the differences, what? Create a continual, what? Irritation in your mind. A continual suffering in your mind. We call that suffering. Because you're seeing people differently. What are you actually seeing when you're seeing differences there? You're looking at their conditioning. You're not looking at the one who's conditioning. Christ said, hate the sin, not the sinner. Why did Lord Jesus say that? Hate the sin, not the sinner.
They can't help it.
Huh?
They cannot help it.
They can't help. The sinner can't help it. But the sinner's nature is love also, isn't it? So there's no sinners here. Everyone is just this love, but what? Because for lack of understanding of that fact, then what? They do actions that are not in harmony with their nature. And unknowingly, they think they're separate people, and that life is a battle for gaining things, and that things can be lost. And they're looking at people as competitors, as adversaries and competitors. They're comparing themselves to the other people and trying to determine. So their viewpoint is producing all kinds of suffering. Now, if I love me 100%, and you're me, then I love you 100%, don't I? If you know that. See? There's nothing you can do about it. It's actually a fact. You are me and I'm you. There's no difference. But knowing it is all that matters. The fact is there's no difference between you and me. On the conditioning level, there's differences, aren't there? I'm a man, you're a woman, I'm 80 years old, you're whatever you are, whatever it is. I got false teeth, you probably don't. There's differences. I have a certain personality, your personality may be different. There's differences. Now, am I focusing on the identity that we have, or am I focusing on the differences? What am I looking at? This is the issue. And if I'm looking at the differences, why? Why am I trying to make differences the same? Why am I working to make differences the same rather than just understanding that differences are not real? If you understand that differences are not real, they no longer affect you. But when you see somebody who thinks differently from you or behaves differently from you, what do you want? You either want them to change, don't you? Or you want them to go away. So the reminder, so the feeling of differences goes away. This is duality. You're comparing. Do you compare yourself to other people? Do you look, oh, she's more beautiful. Oh, he's more rich. Oh, he's more spiritual. Or or she's more this, or she's more loving than me. Do you do this? Do you compare yourself with others? Do you compare yourself with yourself? Do you judge yourself with what you could be rather than what you are? Yeah, you know, anything's possible. Do you think you're better than you were before? Or do you think you're worse than you before? You see the comparison? We call it Matsarya. And that comparison leads to what? Competition, conflict, and so forth. It leads to anger, then it leads to hatred, then it leads to delusion, and so forth and so on. So what is my basic vision? What is my basic understanding? Is everything different from me, or is everything the same as me? Are we made of the same substance? We're not trying to erase differences. We're not trying to remove differences because differences exist. We're trying to find a place in ourselves that accommodates differences, that doesn't allow the differences between us, right, affect our contact, our transaction with each other. So that we transact love, we transact non-duality rather than what? We transact duality. Understand? This is a challenge. This is a big challenge. It's not easy. It's going to take a lot of commitment, a lot of devotion. Excuse me. I got some kind of bug. No, it's okay.
I pick up some water.
Okay. Yeah. Excuse me. Now, this God business is the essence of this teaching, okay? How to relate to God, what God is, and what a devotee is. Okay? And we provisionally, Vedanta, we provisionally accept duality. Provisionally means we're going to eventually remove duality, but we can't just remove duality immediately. That would be nice. It would be nice if we could just in 5 minutes take away all your duality, and then you'd be happy, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you? Huh? Like driving up to the fast food window at McDonald's. What do you want? I want a non-dual burger. and then you drive up, and like 3 minutes later, they give you the non-dual burger through the window. Huh? You know, you can't order up a non-dual burger right away. You have to take a dualistic burger. So, so we accept that we're in duality, okay? We accept that there's a part of us that thinks that the world's different from us, that believes that differences are real. We accept that. You know, in the modern spiritual world, they don't like that. They don't want to analyze duality at all. Understand? What do they tell you? There's no duality. There's no world. There's no ego. There's no teaching. There's no guru. It's all just consciousness awareness, and leave it at that. And that's a pretty frustrating message, isn't it? Yeah, it's a pretty painful, frustrating message, because I'm firmly situated in duality here. Huh?
I should handle.
And there doesn't seem to be a rocket ship that'll just take me to non-duality over, instantly. Even if I get my kundalini going and can blow up, blast myself into some transcendental state, I'm going to come down again. My rocket's going to come down again. Because anything that goes up is going to come down, isn't it? So there's no quick fix here.
Not helpful.
Don't expect a quick fix. Thank you, Beta Murti. Don't expect a quick fix. It's going to be work. I'm going to work you guys hard because I'm working hard. I'm going to make you think. Okay? That's my job. Is to make you think and to learn how to think non-dually. But we have to start from where we are, which is dualistic thinking, subject and object, differences. We have to incorporate differences. Some guy just wrote me an email. I posted a video on YouTube, and he didn't like the idea of God. He said, well, where's the non-duality there? Huh? He wants to argue with me. I'll argue with him, but I'm too busy this week, so he'll have to wait for a week. Non-duality isn't in conflict with duality. You can keep your duality. Understand? Huh? You can keep it quite all right. Why? Because it doesn't conflict with non-duality. When you understand what non-duality is, then what? Duality is not a bother. Because they're in different orders of the one reality. It's like, does a dream actually, if you have a dream, does that actually contradict what you experience when you wake up? Huh? It does? You mean you're a different person when you wake up after you had a dream? No. You understand what I mean? Yeah. No, I mean, because the dream you and the waking you are two different people, aren't they? It doesn't look like it, maybe. But say I got mad at my wife and I strangled my wife. And then when I woke up, I went to the police station. I felt guilty. And I went to the police station. I said, I'd like to please arrest me, put me in jail. They said, what for, sir? What was your crime? I said, I strangled my wife. And they said, oh, well, very good. Where's the body? Show us the body. And I said, in the dream. They said, oh, no, never mind. It's okay. She can be dead in the dream because we can't put you in jail in this state. What? Because why? We need a body. So was there actually any contradiction between the death in the dream and my wife who was sleeping in bed next to me? No. My wife is alive there next to me, and I'm dreaming what? That I strangled her. Where's the contradiction? There's no contradiction. So there's no contradiction between duality and non-duality either. Why? Because what happens in this world doesn't affect what? The self. My nature is still love when what? When my ego is having a fight, isn't it? Huh? So non-duality and duality are not opposites. If they're opposites, then we have a problem, don't we? Then when I'm having duality, I don't have non-duality, and when I have non-duality, I don't have duality. But it's not my experience, is it? Because my nature is love, whether I'm having a fight or not. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, of course it is. When we say my nature is love, what do we mean? Maybe that's a problem. I can see some of you are having a little problem with difficulty understanding this. When we say my nature is love, what do we mean? My existence. My existence. My consciousness. Those three words are synonyms. My consciousness equals my existence equals love. Sat Chit Ananda. How many have heard the word Sat Chit Ananda? Everybody, huh? A lot of people. Sat means what? What exists. That's the self. Yourself is Sat, what exists. It's Chit, which is consciousness. So existence and consciousness are the same. And it's Anandam, means what? Love, bliss, fullness. Limitlessness, complete. All three of those are equal. They're not three different things, because there's only one self, isn't there? Nobody argued when I said there's only one self, did they? I don't recall an argument. You seem to accept that. If there's only one self, then what? It can't be Sat, Chit, and Ananda can't be three different things, can they? So my love is my existence. My existence means what? Love is existence, and existence is love, and existence is consciousness. We're looking at it through the love filter, but what? That's maybe difficult for you, because, and why is it difficult? This I'm guessing now. I'm making a guess. Because you think love's a feeling. Is that right? Huh? Is that why it's difficult to understand what I'm saying? Because you think love is a feeling. Well, it is feeling, but it's not a feeling. What is the feeling of love? Being. What does it feel like to be? Love. Huh? Is that right? Okay, is there anybody here who doesn't exist? Okay. Everybody, I think everybody agrees they exist, don't they? Now, do you want to die tomorrow? How many want to die tomorrow? Or in 5 minutes after the, you can die after the sun's up. How many want to die tomorrow? Nobody's raising their hands. Why not?
Because I was never born.
That's a negative reason, but the positive reason is what?
Love life.
Because I love being. I love existing, don't I? Now, why do I love existing? Because if you die, you're going to non-exist, right? And you think if you die, you're going to non-exist, and that's why you don't want to die. And the reason you don't want to non-exist is what? It's great to exist. There's nothing you love more than what? Than existing, than being. Is there? Being here. Not here in this room, I mean here. Here doesn't mean there's a there. There's no there for this here. Understand? Isn't it? Mm-hmm. So this love we're talking about is not a feeling, it's just your being. And why do you love your being so much? Because your being is love. In other words, as I said earlier, you love love. It's love you love. You love the objects because the objects, whatever objects you love, because those objects put you in touch with the love that you are. The isness that you are. You don't love the objects for its sake, you love the object for your sake.
I created it.
Huh? Is that right? It says in the scripture, the husband doesn't love the wife for the sake of the wife. The husband loves the wife for his own sake. The wife doesn't love the husband for the husband's sake. The wife loves the husband for the wife's sake. You don't love your kids for your kids' sake. You love them for your sake. Because when your kids start misbehaving, you don't like them. Isn't it? Yeah. You wish they were somebody else's kids. So you are the sole object of your love, always. And that love is the fact that you just exist, that you just be. That's why anandam means bliss, or love means what? Is the same as your existence. That's the feeling. Now, what does it feel like to be? Well, it definitely feels great, but can you describe it? You can't describe it, can you? It's indescribable. Now, because it's beyond words. But just because it's beyond words doesn't mean it doesn't exist, does it? Does love, can you tell what love is? Can you say what love is? I've been having a discussion the last few days with a friend about the meaning of the word love. What is love? Now, obviously, if we're talking about love, there must be a thing called love, right? Because you don't have a word for something that doesn't exist, do you? Do you have a word for something that doesn't exist? No, there's no word for something that doesn't exist. Huh? So there is a thing called love, but can you say, does the word tell you what love is? Does that picture tell you what Swami Vishnudevananda is? No. Huh? It doesn't, does it? There's no way to describe what Swami Vishnudevananda is. And of course, you know Swami Vishnudevananda. And there's no way to describe love unless you know you are love. And how do you know you are love? You know it by knowing your existence. You know it by knowing your consciousness. Your consciousness is your love, is your existence. Sat equals Chit equals Ananda. Sat, Chit, Ananda. They're all equals. Why is consciousness equal to existence? Okay, I'll tell you why. I know this is kind of rocket science, and if you don't not getting it, it's okay. We'll try to help explain that. But our teaching is what? First we explain the big picture, and then we come down and work it all out. So we'll get back to it if you're having a hard time with it. But let me ask you this. Do you exist unless you know you exist? Let's say, do you exist if you don't know you exist? Think about it. Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
Oh.
Somebody say yes?
I said yes.
Okay, all right. If you say yes, well, how do you know you exist if you don't know you exist? How do you know you don't exist unless you exist? Let's say you don't exist.
You can't say that.
Huh?
You can't say that.
You can't say it. If you say I exist, you know you exist, isn't it? Is that right?
As a baby?
No, as a person. Did anybody ever ask you if you exist?
As I was a baby? No.
Since you were a baby, nobody did they? Nobody ever asked anybody if they exist, did they? Does anybody in this room ever get asked if they exist? Huh? Why not? No, think about it. It's not a joke. Okay, that's actually think about it. This is a
Only if they can't see me. If they never met me, they just heard about me.
if they never met you, I never met you, but I can see that you exist.
Yeah, but because you can see me, but if you can't see me, you don't know if I exist. You know what I mean?
Oh, you mean your body?
Yes.
Oh, is that you?
I'm in this body.
Oh yeah, well I didn't mean the body. But okay, the body, even the body. Can you know you have a body? Can you? Does your body exist on the, without knowing you exist? In other words, do you have a body unless you know you have a body?
It's more about that I know I have a body because I can see it and touch it.
Yeah, but feeling and touching is knowledge, isn't it? Huh? Well, however, it doesn't matter how you get your knowledge. But do you have a body unless you know you have a body? No, you don't, do you? I understand. Okay, now let me ask you this. Can you know that you have a body unless you're consciousness? Unless you're conscious? Can you? No. No, you can't, can you? Because to know, you need consciousness. You ask yourself, if you say, I have a body, that's knowledge, isn't it? I have a body. You got that knowledge. You touch yourself and you say, I have a body. So that's knowledge. Now, did that knowledge tell you that you have a body? The knowledge didn't tell you anything, did it? Because knowledge isn't conscious, is it? Is it? Knowledge didn't tell, huh? Knowledge is inert. It's just like a chair. I know that I have a body. I know what knowledge is, and I know what, and the knowledge that my body, the existence of my body depends upon knowing that I have a body. Okay? I'm working, maybe I'm working you guys too hard, but let's go. Okay, now this is the next point, okay? Try to follow this. Can you know that you have a body unless you exist? Huh? Yeah. No, you can't, can you? So what? So is your existence different from your consciousness? No, it's not, isn't it? Because I can't know unless I exist, and I can't exist unless I know, can I? Huh? What came first, the chicken or the egg? It's the same logic, okay? Did the chicken come first or the egg come first? There's no first, is there? Where you have a chicken, you have an egg, and where you have an egg, you have a chicken. Now, where you have existence, you have consciousness, and where you have consciousness, you have existence, and where you have consciousness and existence, you have love. Because all three are what? Synonyms. Now, this self, this love that I am, is never an object. This is why when you're seeking for love in people or in objects, what? You're not going to find it because the objects don't have any love. All the love's in you. You are the love. Understand? You're looking for it outside, huh? The object, you are the love. And you want it from an object, and an object doesn't know, who you are, does it? Does your body know who you are? Does your mind know who you are? No. They're just inert objects for gaining knowledge. But they don't know anything. They're just instruments for gaining knowledge, the body and the mind, emotions and so forth and so on. Think about it. So this love is not a feeling, love is me. Now, when am I not present? Huh? Let's get the right me. Let's get the right I. When is this I, this existent, conscious love, when is it not present? It's never not present. Means it's always present. Why? Because I'm always present. I love, I existence, I consciousness, whatever word, you can use whatever word you want, am always present. And is there anything other than me? No, yeah, the answer is no. Okay, maybe we have to work through this because I can see people are having some problem with this. Are there two existences? Huh? Is there any time when existence doesn't exist? Huh? There can't be a time when existence doesn't exist, can it? Because existence wasn't born. Existence is eternal. Huh? And there's now two, if we were two existences, then what? Then we could say existence 2 would have an impact on existence 1. And then we wouldn't know whether existence 1 was true, real, or existence 2 was real, would we? Now one of them would qualify the other one, wouldn't it? And then we'd have a huge problem. It's like the woman who told me she loved me, and then she told me she didn't love me. And then I said, well, okay, that's good, but I'd like to know, which one are you? Are you the one that doesn't love me, or are you the one that does love me? Because I'm confused. Because I don't see two people here. I just see one conscious being here saying, I love you here, and I don't love you now. It's the same person said, I don't love you, that said, I did love you. So I want to know, which one are you? Because I don't see two. So do you see two existences? Do you see two consciousnesses? Is your consciousness different from my consciousness? Well, I mean, it could be, if what? Let's say you say, your consciousness is different from my consciousness. Your love is different from my love. Your existence is different from my existence. What would make that statement true?
The body.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're the body or I'm the body, then what? Then obviously your consciousness is different from mine. Your love is different from mine. Your existence is different from mine. Then what? Then my consciousness and my existence and my love belong to the body, don't they? And your existence and your consciousness belong to the body, don't they? But is that right? Huh? In other words, can love or existence or consciousness, whatever word you want, can those be born out of matter? Because the body's matter, isn't it? Can you get love out of a chair? Huh? Can you get... No. Matter, huh? The body depends upon consciousness, on love. I love the body because the body's born of love. I love the what? I love the mind and the emotions because they're born of love. I love my mind because it's born out of love, out of me. I don't love it for its own sake. I love it because it's born out of me. It's my child, my children. It's non-separate from me. But my body and mind and myself, what? My existence are what? Am I them? They may be me, they may be born out of me, but am I my body and mind and myself? My body and my mind and my emotions, am I? No. I'm free of them, but they're not free of me. Isn't it? They depend upon me, they're born out of me, they depend upon me, but what? But I don't depend upon them at all. I'm free of them always, aren't I? If the body and mind and my emotions are in duality, and I'm not in duality, in other words, I'm the non-dual consciousness, existence, love, if I'm Sat Chit Ananda Atman, Atman means my essence, if my essence is Sat Chit Ananda, then I don't have a problem with my emotions and my feelings and my body, do I? Because I don't depend upon them for my happiness. Happiness happens to be my nature. It's not a happening that comes when what? When I get an object that's conducive to my likes or dislikes. Is it? I can see we're getting tired. I would take this up in the morning. It's warm in here and it's late. And this is a very, little complicated or difficult topic to understand. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to explore this issue. And the text is called the Narada Bhakti Sutras. And it's the sutras on divine love. Sutras means verses. Trains of thought. A sutra is a train or a thread of thought, like a thread on the internet is a train of thought. So these are Naradas. And Narada was a great sage who had a non-dual guru. And so he examines non-dual love and dualistic love together. Now we want to help you to what? Develop a discrimination between what? Between non-dual love and dual love. If you know that you're what? If you know what non-dual love is, you can love an object. You can love a person. You can love dually if you want, because there's no contradiction. But if you only love an object without knowing that what's common to both, in other words, knowing that the object that you love is actually yourself, then you're going to have problems. So we're going to try to solve, or at least help you investigate this problem in the next few days.